Well, I'm going to get started because it looks like everybody here is ready to roll. I want to make sure we have plenty of time to get through our discussion today. I want to welcome you. My name is Lisa Allen. I'm coming to you live from Portland, Oregon. I'm a member of East Portland Rotary. I've been in Rotary for 16 years this month, as a matter of fact, and I've always belonged to the same club. Past president was an AG last year. This is my second year as a lead facilitator at PETS. I'm excited to be here with you. I also, in my profession, I'm a trainer, so I've had a lot of years of corporate training and training in very unique places. A fun fact about me, and I'll turn it over to my team here, but one fun fact about me is in my prior job, I was a trainer for Goodwill Industries, and I had the opportunity to be a part of and in charge of our program that they called the Prison Outreach. And I spent every Friday afternoon going into a state correctional facility for women, teaching women who were just about ready to be released on job search skills, resume writing. So I spent many weeks in prison. It was one of my favorite things, very powerful opportunity to go into correctional facility. Never got tired of saying, got to go, folks. I'm going to prison today. So I want to introduce to you our team. I have a co-facilitator here, Eric Silvers. He's going to be monitoring our chat and helping me direct any hand up or questions I may have missed. Also, if something goes crazy with my tech or my connection, he can take over. So Eric, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Okay, welcome everyone. I am the past president of the Yakima Downtown Club, and we had our centennial year a few years ago, and that was my responsibility to be able to take care of that. But going along with the theme of centennial year, I decided to set our goal of having 100 new members. Well, we had a pandemic that happened, but we got 30 new members. So I figured, that was pretty good, even though we didn't get the 100. But, that was pretty fun.
Thank you, Eric. And our tech guru, Tim. Tell us about yourself, Tim.
Thanks, Lisa, and hi, everyone. My name is Tim Schultz. I'm past president of the Rotary Club of Kamloops in British Columbia, District 5060. My Rotary fun fact is I was first introduced to Rotary by my grandfather in 1983 when he brought home an autographed picture of Wayne Gretzky when Gretzky was a featured speaker at the Rotary Club of Edmonton that my grandfather was a member of. So that was a good early experience in Rotary.
All right, thanks, Tim. So on to our next slide. In January, you went through those core classes that focused on leadership, membership, the Rotary Foundation, and public image. And that prepared you for today's discussion, which is going to be a much deeper dive in looking at how Rotary's 4 priorities can help you propel your club into the future. So though, as opposed to last month, and you probably have already sat through a session today, this is going to be a facilitated discussion. I'm going to be asking you open-ended questions. We're going to hear a lot from you. You're going to be sharing ideas. There'll be 2 breakout sessions that are 10 minutes apiece. And this time we're going to get to hear from everybody. You're going to get a couple minutes to report back and share your ideas. Of course, we want to keep things as brief as possible so we can get through our content in a timely manner. It's really a follow-up to the membership, and then we're talking about enhancement. Tim is going to go over some reminders.
Thanks, Lisa.
Yeah.
So I'm sure we've all lived on Zoom for the last 2 years, but just a couple of quick reminders on that. To get Lisa's attention, please use the raise hand function. You'll see that under reactions at the bottom of the screen. Instead of clicking those other icons, click the raise hand like Lisa's done. And then when you're finished speaking, we also click that same place again to lower your hand. If you have any questions, just text, put them in the chat and Eric or I will get to them. Thanks a lot.
All right. Thanks, Tim. Okay, on to our next slide. When people belong to a group, when they're members of something, the experiences, the relevancy is important. And when those experiences are no longer relevant to their personal or even professional life, they lose interest and they leave, they walk away. It's one of the reasons why Rotary has been so stagnant over the years. So when we're talking about enhancing engagement, we're we're going to ask you to take an assessment of your club. It's really stepping back and looking at what's going on. What kind of projects are you involved in? What do the committees look like? Who's chairing the committees? Are the right people in the right place? Are programs interesting? Is it pulling people in? Are people excited about getting together and doing whatever the project is? Or is it pulling teeth? You know, it's looking at what's working and what's not working, and then going with what is working and capitalizing on that. So that's creating added value, and you're creating opportunities for people to have personal and professional experiences that are relevant to them. And that attracts new people and it keeps your existing members interested. And so today's discussion is going to focus on 5 objectives. We're going to spend some time understanding what engagement and participation is. We'll look at how enhancing the engagement of members will help your club. We're also going to talk about community partnerships and how your club can benefit from enhancing engagement with the community. We'll identify some ways to get members that have lost or have become disengaged, re-engaged. And finally, we'll look at how you can lead your club to more and better engagement. I want to know, I've mentioned I've been in Rotary for 16 years. I want to know how many years have you been in Rotary? Tim, do you have that poll ready?
I apologize, but there we go.
Okay, there we go. Okay. So we've got one person that has over 30 years, but look at, we have a very well representative of a wide range of years. And so this is exciting to me because this means there's going to be some really great ideas generated today. And you might be already doing some things that are working, and I can't wait to hear from you. And so as we talked about, we're talking about engagement, but what is it? So tell me, what is engagement? What is engagement to you?
Sorry, I think about it as active participation in a way that makes sense for them. So for some people, it might be attending every meeting. For some people, it might be doing some of our external events. For some people, it might be hybrid, but that they're actually part of it, whatever it is, in some way.
Okay, thank you. Thank you. And Cheryl, you had
That
your
is
hand up.
pretty much what I was going to say as
Okay.
well.
Okay, great. Thank you. Right. It's really, you know, people engage, they show up, they're doing the things that they're interested in doing, but it's also could mean Rotary is a part of their life. They come to the club with ideas, they bring people in, they're active in activities, and they're willing to sign up and help out. So what's disengagement look like? Tell me.
I would say it's cut with obviously somewhat of the opposite, right? It's people, I just sent out an email to our whole crew because I had an hour between sessions, and it was basically asking about what is it they're looking for from Rotary, what made them join, do they still love it, what do we have to change to make them love it? The reality is we have people who haven't been for 2 years. We've been actively having meetings since March of 2021, so I've been way at it sooner than a lot of other clubs. And we probably, out of 45 members, we only have about 25 coming and maybe 3 or 4 online. And then the rest of them we don't hear from. But then interestingly, you talk about engagement, we have 5 new members in the last 2 months, which tells you that with COVID, people clearly yearn for the human experience, if for no other reason, just to be amongst other adults in person.
Sure.
But then we're maximum, we're a 45-person club. We never bring 5 people in a year, let alone in 2 months. So
Congratulations.
Too. So you got to figure out what's driving people or what drove them away, I guess, is the disagreement.
Right. And we'll talk more about that. John, did you want to add anything to disengagement?
Yeah, I think when people get frustrated and they don't feel like their voices are being heard, that they tend to drift away, and that leads to disengagement.
Right. And how does disengagement affect the club? And anyone can answer that.
I think it sends it in a negative direction. People they don't want to be involved, they don't want to be participating, and they get frustrated.
Okay, thank you. And Sandy.
I was typing it because I had food in my mouth. I was like, it feels like
Stagnation.
stagnation, right? Like just there is no energy, there's no momentum.
Sure. So it has negative effect on the club. Exactly. So think about, not only the disengagement, but and the fact that it can be negative, that can also, kind of like when you have a bruise on an apple, just kind of very slowly can spread and maybe you lose more people. So we're looking for opportunities for pulling new people in, and one of them is community. And we'll talk more in detail, but start thinking about who in the community do you interact with through Rotary that's not in Rotary, and creating those partnerships can really expand your reach. So think about speakers, maybe parents of youth that you've worked with, even some vendors or folks that run venues that you've held events at. And we'll talk a little bit more about that. But on the next slide, we're going to talk about why. We've decided what engagement looks like, but why is it important? How could a club benefit from engaging the community, for example? Lindsay.
I think it's just sort of, I think someone mentioned this before, that when we're not engaged, it sort of kills our momentum. And, the more engaged we are, the more we seem to be able to get done with the community, the more awareness that the community has of what we're doing. It's sort of the positives build on each other.
Correct. Thank you. And Denise.
I think the more engagement we have, our community reaches out to us versus us reaching out to them.
Look to
They
you as a
want to help us.
resource.
They want to participate in our fundraisers, and we're carrying out our annual dinner and auction next Saturday virtually. But we've had people reach out to us and say, "Hey, I wanted to advertise. I hadn't heard from you yet." So,
Oh, that's fantastic. That's a good feeling. Yeah, good feeling. And Paul.
Yeah, I think of just the main reason why I joined, and that was for the local engagement in the community more so than the global aspect of, which is great too. But I think it's kind of paramount really for a Rotary Club to be really actively engaged in the community, because that's where people are going to start wondering, well, asking questions about your club and how can I be part of it? And, I just think it's really important.
Right. It creates more interest and it attracts more people. And of course, when you're partnering up with community folks or people in the community, your resources expand. And so that can create excitement. And so we've identified, engagement, disengagement, how disengagement can affect a club. Why do you think people become disengaged? What leads to that? John, you have your hand up.
There
There you go. Yeah.
I like I said before, I think when people feel that they don't have value and that their ideas are not part of the mix, that they become disengaged. Whereas if you incorporate everybody and collaborate, then you build a synergy and you build momentum.
Correct. That's right. And really it is about, people may not feel fit. They feel like they fit in, or maybe no one really cares, or the projects aren't that interesting. But the bottom line is the need is not being met. And so understanding the needs of our members is really paramount. And, here's this pyramid of my hierarchy of needs. And I would say that Rotary fits more than just one of these needs. I would even go as far as saying that it can create safety and security. I moved to Portland almost 25 years ago. I don't have family here. I didn't know anyone. And when Rotary became a part of my life, it also became somewhat of a security, because something breaks down in my house, I just get out the roster. Because if somebody in my club doesn't own the business, like my furnace went out last spring, somebody does have a business an HVAC business, trust him, no questions asked, come in and do the furnace. If they don't own the business, they know somebody who does. And so that creates safety, but it also creates a sense of belonging. Rotary fulfills that idea of having friends and relationships with people. Also, their sense of accomplishment when we're working on projects. We raise money or we bring awareness to something, creates the fulfillment of esteem needs, and then the opportunity to self-actualize, to develop your skills, your leadership skills, your organizational skills, any kind of creative thing. So Rotary fulfills those needs, and we make that promise to people when they join Rotary. That's why I joined. I went to a meeting just because I wanted to see the speaker. I didn't know anything about Rotary. And I was just blown away by this room full of people that were movers and shakers. And not only were they getting things done, they were having a really good time doing it together. And I wanted to be a part of that. And about a year ago, a year into the pandemic, I'd lost my job, was by myself, and I was feeling like no one really cared. That need of belongingness wasn't really being met. And I thought about leaving Rotary altogether. Just so happened the president-elect called me last March just to say hi. And so my need, it changed. And our needs change as we are in Rotary and as we get involved in that kind of thing. But so when a club doesn't meet the needs, it's easy for people to leave. But when they are meeting the needs and meeting those promises and expectations a member has when they join and as they're more involved, then they want to be there. They show up. They bring people with them. They're excited. And that kind of energy is very contagious. And so it's really, you know, understanding those engaged members, but flipping around and looking at what happens when they're disengaged and how can we pull them back in. And these are conversations I've, you know, as an assistant governor, I heard a lot of these conversations in the last couple of years about, well, people don't show up and this and that and that and that. I heard a lot of talking, but not a lot of action. And so this quote really kind of fits into that experience. Most people spend more time and energy going around the problem than trying to solve them. And that's just a lot of talking. In today's session, you're going to have an opportunity to actually come up with some strategies and some actions. They're going to help you kind of get through this period where we can really pull people back in. And so our first breakout session is going to be about 10 minutes long. We're going to split you up into groups of four groups, I'm sorry. So it'll be 5 people. And it's a scenario-based breakout session. You get to pretend. And what you're going to be pretending is that your group has been tasked by the board of directors of your club. This is on the next slide. They've asked you to figure out a program, a strategy on how to re-engage 4 folks in the club that have become disengaged. Now, these 4 members were engaged, they were active, but their attendance has dropped off, their participation has dropped off, and the club directors have come to you and said, figure out a way to get these people involved. So that's what you're going to be doing in the next 10 minutes. Introduce yourselves, pick a scribe, come up with an idea. Maybe you already have an idea or something that you're already doing, you can use that. And we'll come back and we'll hear from each group on what ideas you came up with. Tim, are we ready?
We're ready. Here they go.
Okay, have a good time. Okay, I see 2 raised hands. I'm also expecting to see 2 more. So if you were the scribe of your group, please raise your hand via electronically, not like this. All right, I see 3. And I see 4. Fantastic. Thank you. All right, Lindsay, I'll go with you first. Tell us, what did your group come up with?
Yeah, I think our group talked a lot about that. First of all, understanding why that member isn't involved anymore and really understanding that member's why of being with the club. Some people it was for certain projects and for some it was a social aspect. So once we know what that why is, then finding a way to connect with that member that would be meaningful for them. Maybe it's presenting them a project or asking them to reconnect with someone, maybe an exchange student or something in the past, but kind of making a sort of tailored approach to that member, understanding that, you know, different people are there for different reasons.
Okay. All right. Thank you so much, Lindsay. Lori.
We said pretty much the same things, just the importance of a personal contact, whether it's over the phone or taking them out for lunch or, you know, maybe it's something personal in their lives and doesn't really have anything to do with the club. And we should care and know about that. Also talking about maybe any kind of responsibility that they can take on, even though it may be little, is still a connection, and anything we can do to help facilitate that is a good thing.
All right. Thank you very much. And Jay.
Ours was much the same. It was concentrated on communication, and we got into the different people communicate in different ways. So maybe it's not always email, maybe it's not always a phone call. Somebody shared, or Natalie shared that one president actually showed up at the businesses, which maybe didn't work quite as well. But group texts, email, phone calls, any way that you can get a hold of those people, maybe assigning a partner or a phone tree to keep a personal link to, hey, I didn't see you at the meeting, and draw them in that way.
All right. Thank you very much, Jay. And Deb?
It looks like we decided that we should talk to them first. So it looks like everybody said that. The reason is because everybody can have different reasons why they're disengaged. But as fellow Rotarians, we should care about the why. Some issues can't be solved, but we still need to know what's happening. Some proactive things were communicate regular with club members. Are they burned out? Can we give them smaller jobs? Are hybrid meetings necessary for those who prefer Zoom for whatever reasons? One person talked about maybe a social event with no agenda, just to get together and visit. We talked about anonymous surveys that clubs can put out to get reasons why, where people are more comfortable to say why. And then a mentor program for new members or existing members.
Okay, thank you very much, Deb. These are all solid ideas, but they do have that commonality, which is that personal touch. And I mentioned in my own experience, that's what turned it around for me. The president-elect just picked up the phone and called and said, "Hi, I'm thinking about you. How are you doing? What's happening?" And he actually had no idea I was contemplating on leaving. And I didn't tell him in that conversation, but I did communicate that to him later on. And by the way, he's called, I don't know if he's done this for everybody in the club, but he has called me a couple times since becoming president, again, just to say hi. He's not asking me to do anything. So the personal touch is key, really key. And the why is really important. Understanding why. Why did someone join? Why is someone thinking of leaving? And it could be just a really simple thing of they feel ignored. Maybe they want to do something, but no one's asked them. And as president, you have an opportunity to do that. So, they say it's more expensive and time consuming to bring a new customer into a business than to have a returning customer walk through the door. Same goes with Rotary. It takes a lot of energy to bring in new people. And we know that people join Rotary to give back, for service, to understand our 5 avenues of service, learn more about those core values of fellowship, leadership, diversity, and inclusion. And, we've talked about the expectation that people have. We make a promise when people join. Look, this is what we do. We do this, we do this. You can be involved with that, this, the other. There's a ton of things. But how do you know if people are really into it? Are you just kind of guessing? Do you know what your members want? Do you know what's important to them? Do you have a process or a strategy in place that your club is already doing? And that's what our next poll is asking you is, do you have a program or a system in place to discover the needs and expectations of your new members? Okay, so as you can see, the majority of us do not have something in place, and a few of us do. I'd like to hear, from 2 of you. What are you doing?
We are starting the mentorship program this year, is the first year. So we actually just got, I think, 4 or 5 new members within a month. So we actually had to be very organized and make sure that we had someone for each of those members. So it's actually the fact that we have so many new members right away in one go, it actually is helping us to create that process. And then from there on, we'll just keep it going. So hopefully it will, we're going to learn as we go on this mentorship program because we haven't done it before, but we have a general idea.
All right. Thank you for sharing, Deb. Terry, what's your club doing?
In addition to the mentorship, just like Deb, we have our membership chair checking in with them and making sure that everything is understood. And the fireside plays a really big part in that.
So do you have a scheduled fireside for new members, or do you just have them random?
We have them on a regular basis, but they are random based on when the new members join us. But we have a 12-step process to get them to that point, so we need to keep them engaged.
Oh, wow. Wow. That sounds like a really interesting approach and very well laid out. And I see the other hands, but I'm going to move on for the respect of our timing here. So it's really important to think about what our members need. You know, we talked about that. And, you know, people are pulled in multiple directions. Rotarians by nature are busy people. They're leaders in their own professions, in their community. They join Rotary. Their demands on the demands on their time is pretty steep, and it's easy to get lost in the shuffle. So, you know, Terry has a standardized process, and I see some other hands up there. So we really need to make an effort to make a connection with those new members, bring them in, even if it means picking them up and taking them to someplace, not just saying, meet me there, or, oh yeah, here's our list of things we do. Let me know what you're interested in. Sometimes we have to do a little bit more than that. And again, it's going back to creating what our RI President-elect Jennifer Jones says. It's creating comfort and care for our members, showing that we care. Also, when she says comfort, it's also creating that safe space. You know, fulfilling that need of security, perhaps, as we talked earlier. So imagine a club that does have something in process, that you know, a designated committee, for example, and their focus is to find out what the needs are of new members, but also find out what the needs of existing members are, because they can change as you know, their years in Rotary stretch on. And what does a club look like? Well, it looks like a club that's vibrant, it's fun, it's exciting, it's fulfilling. I think all of us want our clubs to be that way. And the best way to make that happen is to get feedback. And we've talked about this, and you've acknowledged that there's more than one way to do this. Not everybody communicates in the same manner. They don't use the same tool to communicate. And so it's showing up one-on-one might work, but maybe it's just a text message depending on preferences. And so understanding what's available and then using them to your advantage. There's more than one way to do it, and it should be done more than one way. Again, that's meeting the needs of your members too. How you communicate with them and the tools that you use, channels that you select, is also meeting the needs. It's adapting to them. Thank you. So we are at a comfort break time, believe it or not. Looks like most of our folks are back. I would like to see your beautiful faces. Now we're going to talk about engaging the community. We've already kind of touched on some of those outside resources that are just prime to join your club. And, you know, we've also talked about how we could engage those individuals that interact with your club. I have a couple of ideas. I'd like to know what you think. How can you get some folks that are in the community that you've worked with? How can you get them involved with your club? What could you do?
We actually have had really great success in just asking movers and shakers in our community, for whatever reason, to be speakers at our club. And it's just, and we meet at a winery too. So people like the fact that we meet at a winery and we drink wine and beer while we're having our meeting. So it's kind of seen as the cool club in our valley. There's 5 clubs in our valley, but people want to come to ours. So so that's been good. So yeah, where you meet is important, actually.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Yeah. But
Thank you.
Yeah, having people come and speak has been a great way to create those connections.
Okay. Thank you for sharing. Paul, your hand is up.
Yeah, I think it's quite important that we just talk about Rotary when we're at other events. Just let people know that you're a Rotarian. That's how I got involved in Rotary to begin with. I was at a different event, and I knew about Rotary from another friend, but this one fella was helping me out with something else and just mentioned that he knew so-and-so from Rotary. And I said, oh, you're a Rotarian. Can I come to your meeting?
Yeah.
So I think that's fairly important, because you never know who you're going to trap. or catcher.
Yeah.
Thank you. Natalie, we'll hear from you.
Yeah, this year we changed up our holiday party. We typically had a holiday party with just Rotarians and their families. But we decided to invite any grant recipients, any guests that had come to meetings, other community leaders to come to our holiday party. And we actually did a silent auction and really got a lot of new engagement and fresh engagement from outside organizations coming to our event. And the proceeds just go to additional socials and other membership events down the road for this year. And it was nice to see new faces and really get to know people on a personal level because it was more of a fundraising social event.
Social event. Yeah, and that's, invite folks to social events. Marcella, can you share one? And then we'll move on.
Our small club it does a lot in the community, but we have found that if we let the community know through the media what we are doing, that this helps.
Great. Thank you very much for sharing. Yeah, reaching out into the community, letting media know, and using the different tools that are available with media these days. And so when a club does expand its reach, it's creating those community partnerships. It's just, it really creates more vibrancy, more resources, more opportunities, and gets your existing members excited, but also attracts new people in. And so we've talked about what enhancing participation engagement means, why it's important. We've looked at ways that we can re-engage folks that have been disengaged and how we can be attractive to new people in the community. And we're going to talk about how we can engage members. How do we do this? How do you engage? What activities do you engage a new member in right off the bat? Give me 2 things you do.
I think you should probably let them know that they should get on some kind of committee and encourage them to, because I was in Rotary for about 6 months before it kind of dawned on me that, and it was made clear to me that you need to sign up to do something. And so I think probably get them involved right away in something, even if it's road cleanup or something simple,
Good idea. Thank you. Lori.
2 things we do the mentor program. So we assign them a buddy. And then we also, next year, we give them $250 and ask them to run a project.
Interesting. Thank you.
Yeah.
Cheryl, we'll hear from you. Give me one.
The first thing that came to my mind was bring them to a project, invite them and or pick them up and bring them to a project.
Yeah, drive in there. Drive them there. Denise?
Well, when new members join our club, they're called a red badge, and to get rid of the red badge, one of the requirements is that they are required to participate in one of our 2 big fundraisers.
Okay. Okay, great. So these are good ideas. And hooking them in, one of the things that I got hooked in right away was I delivered Meals on Wheels and was paired up with a seasoned Rotarian. And I heard about the international trips that he made. He was a plastic surgeon. He did a lot of cuff palate reconstructive surgery for children in South America. And that really got me interested. And then I just learned about the club in a very personal way, and learned about him. And that developed a long relationship. He's still one of my favorite people in the club. So it got me hooked in. These types of activities are opportunities. Instead of saying, oh, we got this committee, we got to put together, it's an opportunity to engage with each other. And so we're going to talk about some ways in which we can engage in our next breakout session. We're going to split you up into 4 groups, and each group is going to have a specific thing they're going to talk about. And that's on the next slide. So we're talking about enhancing engagement. So one group will talk about how they're going to do that through social events. Another group will talk about how they're going to enhance engagement through international service. Third group, community service. And the 4th group will talk about how they can enhance engagement through youth service. You'll have 10 minutes. Once again, please pick a scribe. I'll be asking to hear back from each group. And again, raise your hand like you did when you came back if you're the scribe of your group, so we can quickly identify you. You can also refer to this information in your workbook, page 36. So identify ways in which you can enhance engagement. So you are ready, Tim?
Good to go.
Okay, Cheryl, Denise, Jay, and waiting for the fourth. Jay, let's hear from you. What was your topic?
Okay, we had community, and first of all, not that I'm complaining, but we were kind of surprised to see the same group, happy and surprised. So we had a number of interesting activities that different clubs do to draw their groups in, and they ranged from doing stuff with outside agencies in coordination with like Chamber of Commerce or the Lions Club, and having members join in with that, or the Rotary Club join in with that. Found out about a few new projects, like Marcella's Club does a twist on an Easter egg hunt. They do a duck hunt instead of a duck race up the ski hill with little ducks and prizes, which I think both Doug and I are going to incorporate into our club. And Terry's Club does this just nutty rib fest that they host 50,000 people in their town, and that is an all hands on deck affair for the club. So that definitely draws in their members for their engagement for the community service.
Thank you, Jay. Denise, what was your topic?
Our topic was social events, my favorite. And so we just talked through what each members clubs do to engage new members or existing members in social events. So one of our group members has a club member that owns a winery, and another one that owns or works for a museum. And so they have two venues that allow them to offer social events on a regular basis. So that's helpful.
Lucky.
Another person in our group they have Thirsty Thursdays, the second Tuesday of the month, or second Thursday of the month, Thirsty Thursday, and they get together. And I don't think they drink water, but he didn't say, they just said beverages. Another one, they have Rotary flash mobs, and before COVID, they would meet at a theater, bowling alley, pickleball. But during COVID, they would do flash mob where they would pick up meals at the same restaurant. So just engaging that way. Okay. Another one, BYOC, bring your own chair. During COVID, meeting in a park 6 feet apart, and bring your own chair to engage socially.
One more.
How about, we talked about changing it up. So, you know, not everyone can make the lunchtime meeting or the breakfast meeting. And so just alternating, I think others talked about that, maybe 2 meetings a month or the regular scheduled meeting, but then another meeting or two be socially related, maybe at a different time of the day.
Okay, thank you, Denise. Cheryl. Oh, you just took yourself off.
No, sorry.
Gotcha.
Our topic was youth service. And so well, somebody said they have, so their Interact Rotaract Club has become a community club rather than a school club. And so they closely participate in Rotary events, and the Rotary participates in their events. So they work together on a regular basis. And then somebody else said they sponsor schools for reading and literacy programs, tutoring. And then also with the middle schools, they do like a pizza party that the kids have to sort of qualify for on a quarterly basis. And so all the club members are engaged in sponsoring those parties, and as well as scholarships. And then also youth exchange involves, pulls in a lot of club members for all the different things that have to go on to have a youth exchange student.
Okay, thank you, Cheryl. And Lindsay, what was your topic? Remind us.
Yeah, our topic was international service. And so we chatted about sort of the different levels of international service in terms of, some projects. I think it was one of the Bellingham chapters they travel yearly and go down to Puerto Vallarta, almost having like a sister club or to Mexico and do projects there. And then that club comes up as well to be around some social events, whether it's Super Bowl or some other large event. We talked about wheelchair projects and water projects in Africa and Asia, so quite involved. where members are actually going and doing on the ground work. And then we also chatted about a project where they were supporting a girls' school in Kenya, and that one was not as involved in that maybe not as much work. It was more just fundraising and then buying the products and sending it over to the school, and that they were sort of the sole funder of that school, and it wasn't a ton of work. So kind of different levels of international service and different levels of involvement that folks could have.
Sure, great. Thank you very much, Lindsay. And these are all solid ideas that you've shared with the group, things that you can do right now, things that you can, activities you can engage members with, attract new people in, and also create community partnerships with. And when you do that, you just increase your reach and your resources, and it creates more engagement and vibrancy. So I'm going to ask you 2 questions. We're going to have just 3 minutes. This is kind of a self-reflective moment on you as a leader and your role as a leader as far as enhancing engagement. What is your role as leader to enhance engagement of your club? And then the second question, what can you as president do to move your club in that direction? Okay, we've got some stuff in the note in the chat. Keep an eye on the club members and successes to watch how engaged they are. Paul, I see your hands up.
Yeah, I think for me, it's going to be to continue. We need to find another community project to get engaged in. Things have fallen off because of COVID, obviously. And I think the club needs to get reinvigorated by gathering, like we built pavilions for the high school in a park. We need another project like that where everybody kind of rallies around it. I think it would really bring some new energy to it. And in terms of selling the idea, I don't think it'll be that hard, but I think as a president, I'm going to need to probably do a little bit of individual talking to some member rather than just standing up at the podium. I'm not uncomfortable talking in front of a crowd, but I think there's going to be probably a need to reach out individually to certain members and find out, what the pros and cons of what they think are and kind of get them on board. Anyway.
Thank you.
I think yeah.
Okay, Paul from Chilliwack.
I think we have to remember that we can't do it all alone, and we have to empower others, whether that be our board or other members or specific people. And how you do that is I think, well, obviously, like the other Paul said, is communicate, talk to people, and share the responsibility for whatever it is that you want to do, whatever your goal is, but share that with that and find. I always say that the best way to get a job done well is to surround yourself by good people and get out of their way. So
thank you, Paul. Yeah. Get people on board, right? And Terry.
We've decided to go back to an international project now that it looks like travel will be okay. It always engaged our membership and left a legacy in the countries that we did it. So later this year, I am leading a team, and there's a lot of our membership, actually it's solely membership that's invited to the project. I'm going to build some eco stoves in Guatemala.
Exciting, exciting. Okay, thank you. These are great ideas. Again, all solid ideas. It's really about educating the board, getting people on board, putting the people in the right place to help you get things done, talking to those engaged members. You've all expressed the same common thing. Now on the next slide, I'm going to ask you, you can pull out your idea book on page 3, and this is something you're not going to share with the group. These are some things to think about, things you can put into action. We've had some wonderful ideas generated today, and I want you to think about those ideas and write down 3 action ideas that you can use to help enhance engagement. Write down 3 action ideas that you can use to help enhance engagement. Use some of the stuff that you've learned about today. This has been a dynamic session. I really appreciate your participation. Some solid things have come out of this that you can use now, start implementing before July 1. We've talked about ways to how we can increase impact, expand our reach. You've got ideas that can help you enhance engagement and really adapting to your members and understanding what their needs are. You've made our job easier today while we've talked about what enhancement and participation is. We spent some time understanding how enhancing the engagement of members help the club. We've talked about how we can reach out and create community partnerships that can benefit enhancement. We've identified ways to get members that have disengaged, re-engaged. And we've talked about how you can lead your club to more and better engagement. You know, Rotary's top priorities are polio and membership. And a lot of people in service organizations are walking away. The pandemic has made it very easy for people to disconnect and lose interest. Our work in Rotary is just too important for that to happen. So, you know, we know that annual loss membership isn't sustainable and it's a high priority. You've got some great ideas that you can implement in leaders in your club. And you know, you're president 1 year, but you're a leader indefinitely. So remember, you might be working on some of these things after you've handed over the gavel, but you can lead your club to re-engage. What final thoughts, questions, or comments do you have for us today? I want to remind you of the survey of our class on the My Event app. Let us know how we did, what we can do better next year. And I want to thank you very much for agreeing to be president of your club. It's a great opportunity and you're going to have a great time. Thank you again. Enjoyed meeting with you today.